Billiken fans, welcome back. It is Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you all so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to comment anything that you agree with, disagree with, want us to talk about that maybe we're not aware of. That's always we're not always on top of things. We're reactive as a podcast rather than we don't break news as often. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. And let's get on with the show. It's season 5. Once again, the Midtown Madness Podcast. It's brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. And it is my absolute favorite salsa. And it's local. The best part about Two Men in a Garden, whether you are celebrating a win against VCU on late Tuesday night, or you're not so happy about a Dayton loss on Friday night. 2 Men in the Garden is great either way. Do you like it mild, medium, or hot? No matter what your taste, 2 Men in the Garden have you covered. The salsa will elevate your mid-game and post-game snacking. I promise you that. Look no further than 2 Men in the Garden for fresh, simple ingredient salsa with tons of flavor. Visit them online at twomeninthegarden.com to shop your favorite flavors and learn more about their Kitchen Hub STL. Don't forget to follow them on social media at 2 Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete, holy shit.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's it, Zach? All right. Yep. Okay. Yeah, what a week. What a week. We had highs, we had lows, we had a little bit of everything, Zach, this week.
It was quite the week. I don't really know what to. I think we just kind of have to run this from Tuesday to Friday, not Friday to back to Tuesday.
I think we do, Zach, because the story of the week came in that VCU game on Tuesday, and it was a doozy. On Tuesday night, Zach, a 78-69 win over VCU on Tuesday the 28th. The game itself was a bit of a grind. SLU gutted it out, but I don't think we can get into the game action without first discussing the action in the stands that happened with a little over a minute left in the game. Zach, there was a brawl behind the VCU bench.
I would say brawl is an accurate. So a lot of times, people throw out these hyperbolic words, melee, yes. A brawl. It was a street fight. I don't know if it should have been. It feels like if it was quelled within the first 30 seconds, 60 seconds of it kicking off, feels like we're not really talking about this.
Mm-hmm. But instead it went on for like 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, bizarrely long time with bizarre people in the middle. Well, they're not bizarre. The people in the middle aren't bizarre. The fact that they were in the middle of it is wild, as much as it is humorous, to be honest.
Yeah, so this brawl involved SLU and VCU fans, including a large contingent of Phil Russell's family and friends. Former SLU player Phil Russell, who transferred to SEMO, then Texas Arlington, and then finally to VCU for what's now the last year of his career. This was a doozy, Zach.
Yeah, hopefully it is the last year of his career.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I think he's out of eligibility.
Time to head to Northwestern Mutual.
That's right. So, Zach, I think you did a better job than I did after the game of actually getting in there and trying to figure out what happened. I watched plenty of clips, but I don't know if I could ever quite make heads or tails or of how this thing actually started.
And to be honest with you, I don't know how. I can't tell you how it started, and I can't tell you exactly who did what first or who did, what the most. I guess it was quite a chaotic scene. What my biggest interest was in this was, when did it start? Because I think we saw on social media, it was pretty weird. We saw like VCU fans coming out, like throwing out that there were racial slurs being hurled at there was stuff about Russia with Shulga. It was just very bizarre to see VCU come out, and they I think somebody put out there that there was a slur thrown here and there, and then Philip Russell's family had talked to security, and security didn't do anything, which I find preposterous as someone who's been thrown out of a game for the most mild of insults.
Sure.
If anyone, it's like, as much as SLU was terrible at, like, I don't know if SLU was terrible. Like, I don't know who controls having security on hand. But as much as I am highly critical of SLU, they are the type of people that they would not let that stand. They would stop the fucking game. Like,
they're a very risk averse culture.
Yes,
I'll put it that way. And so I would have to believe that if students were taunting Shulga, who's from Ukraine,
if it happened once, Russia, and I don't think it did, that would have been the last time. If they'd be gone, it would be done.
And I think it would be the same for racial epithets thrown at Russell's family if that was the case. But again, I don't see any evidence of that.
Correct.
I think the reaction would have been different. I would think there would be enough people around. I think even SLU fans would be like, you got to get these guys out of here. Because if somebody's being like just out and out racist, it's like, you got to get them out of the gym.
I think history has been lined with occasions where people can get swept up and decide, that's what that Oscar bait ass movie Crash was about, right? People just kind of standing to the side and not intervening. I think that's what it was about. I don't fucking remember. But I think, that certainly happens. But again, I just don't, there are way too many diverse people in the crowd at a Billiken basketball game. I think as much as people want to say that we have only white hairs in our midst, I think it's diverse enough that somebody would say something.
Well, not only that, we don't have only white players. I mean, it would be very weird. I don't know. I don't really.
I mean, people are weird, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying they said anything. I'm not saying they didn't. I have no idea. I'm not here to speculate. What I'm saying is, so my interest was, when did it start? My interest was because there's no way that anybody's ever going to find out what was said. Nobody's getting he said, she said, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But so I watched this game a lot. Again, I rewatch wins way more than losses, almost 500% more than losses. And what I saw was, I focused on that 3 to 5 minutes left in the game and tried to focus on that background. So anytime anytime VCU had the ball on offense, I was not paying. I was watching the background. And there's a point with about 1:30 left on the clock. VCU goes to the line, and I don't remember who's shooting, but before that, the possession before that, you on the broadcast, you can see that VCU fans in that family section in front of that metal, that iron, whatever the hell it is, you can see them turn around and interact with somebody behind that barrier. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. All I can see is them turning around. And then that next possession, when they're at the line, I see a VCU fan. I don't know VCU fan, how they're, whether it's a fan, a family member, I don't know. But they leave their seat, and they curl back around. This is what I think I see, is the fan curling around. I'm trying to save my ass from getting sued. And they curl around, and they go up to the row, like I think 2 rows above, and they kind of step into that first seat area. And from then after that is, I think there's a timeout after the free throw. And that's when I think it kicked off.
Yeah.
It's like right after, it didn't start during play. I think it was right after that free throw. But I wanted to see, because everyone said security was alerted of this. I wanted to see if I could ever see any instance of them turning around at earlier points of the game.
Yeah,
that was what I was curious about, and how long that had been going on, if it had. So yeah, I don't know.
At this point, all hell breaks loose. We know that there were two women involved, one SLU, one VCU.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
That was part on the Twitter Spaces after the game. A couple guys jumped in to talk about their experiences.
Interesting.
Sitting nearby, and one of them said that it was the person who went up there, who you were referring to. They thought was Phil Russell's mom. And she sat in a seat that was somebody else's seat, and that woman and her got into each other's faces. They started shoving, and then someone else from Russell's family came up and threw a punch, and then all hell broke loose from there. So that's sort of the theory of like the catalyst here, and that more or less comports with what you've been describing.
Go ahead. You go ahead and kind of go on from there, because there's more to. Like, I think in the broadcast video, obviously, you see there are two things I've seen in the video. I've seen the guy getting pulled down a couple rows and then choked on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a guy like slumped over at some point, which was, I sent you that picture, and I think nobody really kind of caught on what I was looking at.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like, that.
So there's the older SLU fan the first guy you mentioned, who was kind of like choke slammed to the ground, and he was the one who had blood all over the side of his face. Yeah. He had a gray sweatshirt on, gray with blue letters SLU, and then he's standing there afterwards looking kind of dazed, blood on the side of his face. There was another guy who you said was like he was on the ground in a row. And the tall, bald guy with the blue sweatshirt,
I believe he was a part of whatever group was of the guy that went down the 4 rows.
Yes. So he wasn't really in the mix until later, but
he joined the mix after the guy went down.
Correct. Right.
And you can see on the video where he's like 4, I don't give a fuck, 4. He went 4 rows or something like that.
Right.
So again, like that's, I mean, I totally sympathize.
He was escorted out of the stands.
That would have set me off.
But CBS's cameras really fixed on that guy for a while, because he got so angry at some point, and he was pointing and yelling. And so they were really following him a lot, even though he was kind of late to the party.
Yeah. Speaking of late to the party, there were, like you said, like you were about to say, there were a ton of like characters that showed up to this, like the guy in the red jumpsuit or the red tracksuit, standing on a seat and just kind of looking in.
I gotta say,
he tried to get around and got
if you're wearing a color that no one else in the arena is wearing, don't make yourself the center of attention in a fight, because you're going to be easy to point out on an investigation, which is what SLU is doing now. They're doing an investigation. I know some of the SLU fans involved have been suspended until this wraps up or whatever, so they were not at the Dayton game.
That sucks.
It does suck, and I don't know what they're who's all involved or how many people it is or anything like that. So SLU,
I believe, from what I understand, one of the guys who was injured, I think that guy who got taken down the stairs or the rows, I think he was there. I think the guy, like the older gentlemen, were there. I don't think but the people that were in the fight, like actually actively throwing hands or jumping in, were not there.
There was a younger SLU fan who came down the stairs and was throwing fists. You could see in one. You could see in one.
Well, there were 2 younger. They're about my age. I know who that. Like, I know them. Like, I've met them. I've met them on a couple occasions. It was a mess. I I didn't even see it like in the arena, and I had the guy in our row was like, Zach, what's going on over there? Yeah. I was like, oh shit,
because that's basically the opposite corner of where you are.
Yeah.
So the SLU, like I said, is investigating. They issued a statement. No need to read it. It's pretty generic. They sent another statement out to season ticket holders. Do you have that one handy? Do you think that one merits reading?
I think it does. But also it's really long. I think I'll probably go into what email is this? Yeah, let me. Billiken ticket office. Here we go. Yeah, I think we can. Dear Billiken season ticket holders, thank you for your support of the Billiken basketball program. What a fantastic win by the Billikens, led by Coach Josh Schertz Tuesday night. As you are aware, during the VCU game, an unfortunate altercation took place that disrupted the atmosphere we strive to maintain at every event in Chaffetz Arena. We want to take this opportunity to remind all of our fans that while the passion and energy for the Billikens are what makes the SLU community special, we must always uphold the values of respect, positive sportsmanship, and mutual consideration. We are committed to ensuring that every individual in our game feels safe and enjoys the atmosphere. Disruptive or violent behavior will not be tolerated, including a copy of the code of conduct for the arena. The point that I got into is the SLU Department of Public Safety is investigating Tuesday night's incident. The university reserves the right to revoke ticket privileges for all future events should any ticket holder or a guest transferee using your tickets should choose to engage in such conduct. Any decision regarding revocation of season ticket privileges will be communicated to individuals by the Department of Public Safety. That's kind of the meat of the statement. I think there's two more paragraphs, but and it's signed Chris May.
Yeah.
I don't know if the season ticket holders needed a little, hey, settle down or you're going to lose your tickets. I don't know. I don't know. I get it. You have to do it. There's insurance. So I would rather us be able to insure the arena, the events, and keep playing basketball games. I personally think that the SLU fans should probably be reinstated. That's just my take. Immediately. I think they should receive compensation for that Dayton game. I think it should be like a credit to next season. Not like, I'm not talking about like eye patch lawyer compensation.
No, I'm talking like for the ticket price.
Yeah, I think they should receive if they choose to renew. I think they should absolutely get a credit for that game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, especially if they find there's no real, this was provocated by VCU, provoked by Russell's family or VCU fans allegedly. It's brutal to have the athletic department send out an email that tells fans they need to be on their best behavior when really you're heading into the game where you want the most riotous atmosphere you can muster in your arena. That sucks.
Yeah, but what do you think about what this does for the program externally, right? Because this was picked up, it was front page ESPN, Barstool, CBS Sports, obviously a bunch of different sports outlets picked this up. It was all over college basketball, social media, for a couple days. I got a lot more texts than usual asking me what was up or what happened. People at work, even one of my kids' friends' parents, joking around with me.
They decided your child can't play with theirs anymore because of the violent nature of the university you attended.
He goes, "Hey, I've got slew tickets later this year. Am I going to be safe?" So what do you think it does in terms of public perception or whatever? How neutral observers would see us?
So I don't know if I want to tell this story. So I was in a good mood before the Dayton game, and I came to a realization that this was that what I'm about to say. You know what? I'm not going to tell the story. Basically, okay. So Chris May happened to be in the direction I was walking, so I walked by and I said, "Look, Chris, you know the ugly truth about that fight, right?" And I said, I said, it's that it was good for the program and the brand. I think, and he kind of looked at me like, what? And I'm like, look, like people care, like whether or not like fights should never happen, right? That should never happen. But like people see that on TV and like, wait a minute, what's going on at SLU? What's going on at Billiken basketball? People are fighting in the aisles. Like, is it that serious over there? Are they getting down like that? So I think nationally it can look bad, right? It picks up by Barstool, picked up by like, like the major news outlets are picking it up too. And it can look bad, depending on whatever, raged up, terminally online people are reading, whatever side of the argument people are talking about, whether you know what I mean? Yeah. So it can look bad in a way nationally, but like locally, oh man, I think this was absolutely fantastic for ticket sales to the Dayton game.
Yeah. So a couple things there, and I tend to agree with you overall. I mean, number one, Chris May would never and should never say that, right?
Correct.
Like, he would never acknowledge that.
Correct.
So that's 100% fine, and would never be critical of him for not saying.
No, God, no. But I'm still going to try to convince him.
Well, number two, from what we could gather, there was just way more hype coming into the Dayton game.
Yeah,
we'll circle back to that later, but it generated a ton of interest. I know from a fact from what we were told that there got to be like a major FOMO factor among the students. The students who were there were like, that was nuts. We're going back on Friday.
Yes.
The students who weren't there were like, well, we got to get in there Friday because that was nuts, right?
Yeah. Somebody tweeted at us that it was the first time ever that SLU students as a community knew what had happened exactly at the last Billiken game. Like everybody knew about what happened the night before. And
man, just imagine being on like a student on campus when something like that happens.
Oh, it's literally, I think you settled like I pity the professors.
Yeah.
For having to like calm the chatter before. I mean, that's all we're talking. Like that's what everybody's talking about. Like, somebody, a student reached out and said they had heard like a student, man, I can't believe I missed it, or I wish I would have seen it. And it's kind of a sad reality that we live in, but people want to be where the viral shit happens.
Yeah.
People, especially college kids, they want to be a part of what's edgy, a little naughty, taboo. They want to get in the mix, right?
Right.
And this is it. I mean, obviously, I do not want fights at every game, but edgy. Like, yes, we are a Catholic institution, but it's I think any chance you get to connect with a younger audience, it is absolutely imperative you take it, especially with college in the precarious place it is right now, kind of in society. Like you have college bound kids carefully weighing the cost of that traditional college experience versus going to learn a trade or going to a community college. And, I can't imagine a better college experience than being in person for something that, it's a negative thing, right? It's not a good thing, but at the same time, like that's a hell of an experience. You're there for something that makes Barstool or ESPN or the major news networks. Like, that's crazy.
It is. One of the things that I said on Discord when we were kind of talking about this and kind of what it meant was like, we have a reputation for being kind of a quieter, older fan base that doesn't really provide you with like that next level environment.
Yes.
They mostly don't fill the arena. It's just not that raucous crowd. We don't have much of a reputation. And this is the kind of thing that sort of reignites the students and the season ticket holders, whether they like it or not, you know, whether like you hate that it has to be a fight, like with actual people getting hurt.
Like you would prefer if it's going to happen, you'd prefer the fight happen on the court. Like if we had to have a fight, I would have preferred it be, you know, not like between players, right? Like not even fit. Like I'm not talking about that kind of fight. I'm talking about like a, you know, it's a tussle. Nobody actually really fights anymore in games.
More like the like Dayton and SLU when Jordair Jack.
Yes, exactly. That was
there's something on the court. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that energizes a fan base, and it brings in new eyes, and those are the type of it's rough around the edges individuals like myself that you need in an arena to keep that place loud.
Sure.
Yeah. That's why people go to hockey games.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to kind of get to that because, like, I think the other thing it does in along with reigniting existing fans and students and everything is like there's a casual fan interest who might not otherwise have been paying attention. And now they're all of a sudden like, there was a 7-minute brawl in the stands at Chaffetz Arena. Like, what's going on there? Like,
exactly.
I'm going to go buy me a ticket for this weekend. And maybe the kind of bluesier type fans.
Yeah. We need more mullets in the stands. And I swear to God, we had one for the Dayton. Well, I think we had one at the VCU game. I don't know who I'd never seen him before, but he was up waving a shirt around when VCU was shooting at the basket in 109. I mean, it was awesome. I love that guy. I need more of that guy.
We need to fill out our fan base with all of the bandwagon jumpers and like the rowdy casual people who didn't go to SLU. Like, let's take them.
Yes.
We're a big tent. Let's take them. If there's people who are gonna just come and crush beers and get rowdy, like we need some, man. We need some.
I mean, you watch that game and you say, "Oh my God, people care about the Billikens enough to throw down in the rows.
Yeah,
not even take it outside." You just, which by the way, terrible place to fight. Why would anyone want to fight in stands? That is, there are so many ways to die.
I'm going to fight on a staircase with railings in a crowd of people and a lot of things that I can fall on. And it's like not a level surface at all. It's really, you're right. It's not a wrestling ring. It's not the ideal. It's not a mat. It's not the ideal format for hand-to-hand combat. But I tend to be with you in that I think on the whole, as crazy as it sounds, it's kind of a positive. It did spark a lot of interest in the program. And it's wild.
You know what? I don't think the fight it's not good to have fights. It is. Let me rephrase all this. I just want everybody to be clear. But if you decide to put 10 to 15 people in yellow jackets between the students and the visiting section every game when the players come out of that tunnel, the opposing, I don't even care if they're actually security. Like play it up, play up the viciousness, even if we're really just chihuahuas.
Yeah, I'm also like a very I hate violence in every form. That's why I want to be clear about that, but I cannot deny the level of interest that this generated. Like what I see, what I heard, everything. Like this got national attention. It got a lot of local attention. Like it's undeniable, and so for that reason, I'm kind of like I have to acknowledge that it was a net positive for generating interest in the program.
I got to be honest. I am eternally grateful that I was nowhere near this. I am just so happy.
Yeah. That would have been an interesting episode if I
Show up with a black eye.
For you to be in that fight, you would have had to run a long way.
Oh God!
To get
Well,
there.
I said as a student, like I wouldn't have trusted myself to not cross the aisle.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm 19, 20, 21. Like the Billikens, other fans are getting beat up. I'm gonna,
There were people asking, "Where's 05? Where's Zach?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah." And by the way, speaking of barriers, they did install like a blue kind.
Well, that was always there.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, that was not there when I.
That was there when they walked out at VCU. That was not new.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
Is it new this season?
It might be.
All right. Well, then I'm wrong because I thought when I saw that I had not noticed it previously.
Yeah.
And I know because that's the corner that I sat in when I had season tickets, and that was definitely not there. That was just an empty tunnel.
Yeah. No. They did that. I think that was because the students were hanging over the side, and I think they have a like training stuff back there. So I don't know, but they definitely needed.
Well, should we talk about this game?
Nah. Screw it.
We won this game, Zach, against a team that a lot of people think is maybe the best.
We won 1.333 repeating games against this team. We won this game against a team that got a third more possessions than we did. Like that is incredible. That's incredible defense. Yeah, it's terrible rebounding. It's great defense.
But it's better than last time, right? I mean, VCU's offensive rebounding was a problem again, especially in the first half. They had 10 of them, but SLU held them to just 5 in the second half. Still not great, but still. And they somehow out-rebounded VCU for the game, 37-36. I think that had a lot more to do with VCU's misses, than anything else. But SLU actually did buckle down and keep them off the boards in the second half, out-rebounding them overall by 10 that half.
Yeah.
Zach, as it turns out, boxing out and knowing where your man is matters.
According to who's the coach now? Rhodes, Shaka? I don't know. Odom said we were going after the ankles, which...
That's so soft.
It's ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous
that,
because what does that even mean? What do you say? The guards boxed out your big men. Is that your problem? Like I don't.
Yeah, what's he even? That's exactly right. I mean, like the game before, they got 18 offensive rebounds with minimal resistance. It's like, yeah, we're gonna do something about that. You know? And they weren't stomping on ankles or whatever.
No, I would have endorsed it, but yeah.
Yeah, they were fundamentally rebounding harder, period. There was nothing else there's nothing they did that was illegal in terms of their rebounding approach. It was just better. They actually put some effort into it.
It was so bizarre to watch Shulga literally go over the back of what was it? I think it was Swope or Johnson. I don't know.
He climbed his back on that one.
Yeah, and then he looks to the ref like, what?
Yeah. He couldn't believe he got called for that.
I just don't like the tip out is the worst thing to ever happen to basketball. Because it's the gateway drug to over the back not being called. That's
I haven't put that much thought into that specific point.
Most people haven't put thoughts into. I did.
Yeah, I've never liked it though. It's like just get 2 hands on it. But between the offensive boards and forcing 17 turnovers out of SLU, VCU did have, like you said, 24 more field goal attempts. Again, not as bad as last time, but meaningful enough improvement that a bad shooting night from VCU just sunk them. They shot
take issue to that.
Low.
I take issue to that. That was not a bad shooting night. That was a beautiful defensive performance by your St. Louis Billikens.
32.8% from the field, 16.1% from 3. SLU didn't really go on massive runs in this game. I think the best they had was like an 11-2 run in the middle of the second half. But VCU just wasn't hitting shots for stretches. SLU was able to expand the lead gradually over the second half. And I don't disagree with you, Zach. I think this defense is designed around just getting bad initial shot attempts out of the other team.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like some sort of It's a very Majerus-esque defense too. It is not a bunch of guys that are like when it's humming. It is dudes cutting off lanes, using angles. It's somewhere between a Majerus and a Soderbergh defense.
It does have some common DNA with those for sure. I don't think you see the number of deflections necessarily that you would in a Majerus defense, and it's not as like tightly designed as that Bennett Soderbergh pack line style defense. But they are doing something here that's pretty special, and I think that's kind of
it's a Lovey Smith ass defense. Bend don't break.
I said that like 2 weeks ago, and somebody else said it to me recently, and now you're saying it. I do think there's a lot of truth to that.
Should we start that we're calling this the Bend Don't Break Billikens?
I wonder how much. I have a hunch that the staff would not like that term for it.
Oh, I don't care.
I don't know. I don't care.
I'm just going to call it that.
I'm not saying I care what they feel about it. I'm just saying I bet they would have another description for it. But it also helps, Zach, when you score 50 points in the second half. I think
it does.
That's kind of quietly overlooked in that game, and it didn't occur to me until well after the game was over, and I was kind of like shutting down my notes and everything for the night much later than this end because of the brawl and everything. But I was kind of looked at it and was like, "Whoa, we scored 50 that half. That was just a really good half of basketball."
Yeah, this game might as well have gone into overtime with the at the time it ended, because with the brawl and the amount of fouls.
Well, that's another reason that I got so much questions and everything like at the office the next day, is because the game that this cut into on CBS Sports was Cincinnati, Utah. And there are some Bearcats fans, in my orbit. So they definitely were like, what the hell happened at St. Louis? Like knowing that I'm the SLU guy. So yeah, that's one of the other reasons I heard so much about this game. But Zach, this was a massive statement game.
He was
Gibson Giberson.
He was unreal. He was so good. So good.
Yeah.
This is the stuff I thought he was capable of and still do. Like I've always thought he made a hell of a complete player. In this game he showed it was his best game as a Billiken. Bar none.
Yeah, and that's interesting because he set his scoring record earlier this season, but you're not the only one. I heard several people say they thought this was his most complete game.
Yes, it was. I mean, I love that he is getting more opportunities to go to the rim with the ball. Mm-hmm. I think he's he's elite at protecting the ball, and I think it works out really nicely when you're, He's kind of, he's a guard version of Avila, maybe. Really just crafty at the way he gets to the rim. And it's fun to watch. It's really, his craftiness going to the rim is one of my favorite things about him.
And they've said a lot recently between him and Schertz that is part of the design here, is just to make him more of a multidimensional offensive threat. He's always had that in his game. I know you've always said you love the way he protects the ball, shields the ball going to the rim. It is genuinely surprising when he does not convert a layup.
Yes, it is.
When he has a layup, you're kind of good. And there's the one from a couple weeks ago where he was, a half step off and blew a tire, as they say.
Yes, he's done that twice now this season. He's had some brutal ones, including one in this game. He actually had one in this game, but they called a foul, which they missed the foul earlier, so they called it.
Do you think the fact that this game was against VCU meant anything?
I think so. I mean, but then again, Jimerson feels like the kind of guy that just wouldn't put too much stock in it. Just kind of go. This was business as usual. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 39 minutes, 26 points, 8 of 16 shooting, 3 of 7 from 3, 7 of 10 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 fouls, and some excellent defense on Max Shulga. Shulga went 2 of 12 from the field and 1 of 15 from 3. Like you, Eric Pitlick, the Arch Baron Cup historian, said it was his best game ever.
Yeah, I think the defense on Shulga, I feel vindicated regarding Jimerson's defense. I think he's been a very good defender. He just the team defense last year was fucking horrible. And I don't think you can really attribute anybody on that team, whether they're good or bad, on defense. But again, Shulga makes me incredibly nervous every time he gets the ball. And in this game, he made him look like a baby.
Yeah, and he hasn't been good historically against VCU. You know, like he's been in a cold streak leading into this game too. That kind of forced us to ask questions about fatigue, and he stepped up. Quote: "We learned from that first game against VCU the physicality, the mentality that was needed. We had to bring our A game, and we did. We weathered the storm, and he did it at both ends."
I would really just like them to bring their A game every game. That's the old man yells at cloud in me. That's that response. That's my reply guy.
A students only bring their A game.
Yeah, that's right. I thought Kobe Johnson probably had the second best. I just, you know what? I can't say that. I haven't looked at the notes, the stats in probably 5 days. I just really liked what Kobe Johnson is bringing. I think with the offense stagnating the last couple games, it was really important to find a fourth guy that is willing and able to take the shot when it's called upon, not necessarily become a major scoring threat, but be ready to be the scoring threat.
Yeah, that's right. We said in the last show that he just isn't always looking to score, and so he deserves that credit for being more assertive. And I think you do have a case for him being the second best player in this game. He scored 19 points on 6 of 10 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 5 of 6 from the free throw line to go with 5 rebounds. That's like more than half of that more than doubled the amount of free throws that he had shot so far this season, right? So that's a big difference in asserting himself. And he said, I just wanted to come out and be aggressive, take open shots, and attack in transition. It was a pretty physical game. We were really locked in during practice. And Zach, I think he's better suited for VCU than some of the others on this team as a guard because he's got that experience and really good physicality. He just had to kind of, come out of his shell or whatever you want to call it a little bit. He had to be more assertive.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up Kobe Johnson. He's shooting 36% from 3. I thought he was a bit more efficient than that. He's always been just a really he's shooting
36 is good. 36 for a kind of like a secondary, or I guess in his case tertiary kind of scoring option. That's good. I'll take 36.
Yeah. And I think he's a great player defensively. I trust his 3-point shot. Like his 3-point shot is nails.
Yeah, it is, and he's had open ones that he's passed up, and I think the staff has been on him to take those.
What's pretty awesome is I think in this week we saw 2 guys, one bench guy that is really willing to step up, and of course Kobe Johnson. So I think with even though we split the week and actually went 1 of 2 in the last 3. I really think we're in a good position to weather storms now where our best players aren't necessarily playing at their best. Of course, we're going to talk about Dayton. And of course, I'll look stupid for saying that when we get to the Dayton game. Yeah. Rocchio said, that's Matt Rocchio, said that despite scoring 2 points, this may have also been Kalu Anya's best offensive game. He had a game high 5 assists to go with 10 rebounds. He had that really pretty dribble handoff screen and assist on Jimerson's 3-pointer that made a 7-point game.
Yep, that was the play that got the biggest fist pump out of me at home on the couch. It felt decisive. It's the one after the game that everybody credited as the big shot of the game. Put us up 7. It really was a big one. It just was. Yeah, I mean, I think it was indicative of the night he had overall, and so I think Rock said it really nicely there.
That play got you fired up, but my favorite thing about Anya in this game was just his ability to bring the ball up the court against VCU, mostly because VCU had no interest in really pressuring him. I don't understand why. I don't really know why. It felt I guess because they feel better with if he was up the court and Swope was bringing it up, they feel better trapping, I guess, and leaving Anya open. I don't know. I really don't know, but it was weird to see them just kind of let him dribble it up the court. But I mean, he did a great job even when they did kind of give him a little pressure because it was one-on-one and I think he had a major advantage. I think he was so much better than the guy that was defending him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And who would have bet that before this game he would lead the entire game in assists? You know, if you had every player on both teams in front of you and said, circle the name that is going to have the most assists in this game, I'm not sure he would have been top 10, to be honest. So what a great game for him.
Yeah, I mean, I've been critical of Anya. I still need to see more from him. I think he could be so much better, but he was great in this one. He was very, very his contributions were very important in this one.
Yep.
Avila, 14 points, 8 of 8 from the line. Massive number there. Again, it is not, you are not a bad free throw shooting team. Your bad free throw shooters got to the line. 3 layups, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 7 turnovers. Turnovers have been an issue. Robbie has had very pedestrian games and very bad games in the last month of the season.
Yeah, and we'll get into it again with Dayton because it happened again, but he just has to be smarter about his passing. Too often he's forcing things to the closest player to the basket, but frequently when his target is in heavy traffic or just too deep to where it's just not even the right pass to make, he's pretty consistently gotten 4 to 5 turnovers in a lot of games. 7 in this one. He had 7 again against Dayton. I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but Shirt said something like he's trying to thread needles that are not there, or find gaps that are not there. I don't remember, but it was just basically that it's not there. And he's trying to just make the most exciting pass possible. And on a lot of those, Zach, he's making those when he's basically like right on that circle, that semicircle. And it's like, Robbie, you've got great touch, man. At that point, take the 3 or 4 foot baby hook,
That seems to be an issue with this team, is the inability to kind of that effort in the final third, if you're a soccer fan, right? That seems to be something that this team struggles with, is kind of bringing together that unselfish, great ball movement that a Shirt's offense is known for, with being assertive, taking good shots. It doesn't have to be the best shot. Like, it's that Gallagher overpassing. I understand that we're not trying to shoot mid-range jumpers out here, but sometimes that's a good shot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes you just have to be aggressive and go to the hoop. It's your time. It's your time to shine. We need the players on this team. And I think Gibson's great at it. I think Swope's great at it. Robbie should be great at it because he's an alpha, at least in basketball skills. Whatever. And, the rest of the team has to figure that out. Yeah. Robbie and the rest of this team have to figure out. I think Kobe Johnson's learning it, but you have to get to a point where you trust. The offense is about trusting your teammates and knowing they're going to make the right reads and you're going to make the right reads, but you have to also trust yourself to make the shots.
Yeah. Yeah. And you say mid-range. I'm not sure it would even be mid-range in some of the ones that he's dumped off.
It's like, my point is my point is just go to the rim.
Yeah.
Yes. You're the All-American on this team.
It's funny because he'll back somebody in from 20 feet out. And then when he's 4 feet out, he'll try and pass.
Yes.
And it's like, dude, just do what you've got one dribble and a shot. If that, like, just take the shot.
And I think part of it is teams are not really doubling him as much as they were. I think they're willing to kind of take the risk that the Billikens are going to make a three. I don't know. I don't think they're willing to take the risk that the Billikens are going to miss threes. Mm-hmm. So I think people have realized that you can guard Robbie straight up if you're physical with him, and and reach in and really kind of pester him. He doesn't like to be pestered.
No.
So
a few other perspectives on the issue. Shirts gave VCU's defense some credit for this. Said they were cutting off his sight line and giving him a blind spot. My friend Joe said, I wonder if it's the obsession with threes and dunks. That 4 or 5 foot shot doesn't look as attractive. West Pine Bills said Jack Clark's length was giving him issues. So I think all of those things are there. But let's not overcomplicate things. Somebody you're going to want to talk about, Zach, is Dylan Warlick. He gave us a fantastic 12 minutes in this game.
And it wasn't his best performance of the week either.
It wasn't, no, but he gets the Zach Miller bench hero of the game.
Yeah, buddy. Yes. Does Mitch Hedberg have a joke about basketball? Mitch Hedberg on basketball.
Ooh, not that I can think of.
I don't think so either. I've heard it all.
What I love that has happened, by the way, is that media members of our generation have said, you look like Mitch Hedberg. People have made like other references. What was the other reference? But my point is,
Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf, he has not heard of the things that people are referring to. And I think that's so funny. It's like he came to his haircut completely independently of whatever cultural references we might have for it.
People think I'm into sports because I'm a man, but I'm not into sports. I like Gatorade, but that's about as far as it goes. By the way, you don't have to be sweaty and play basketball to enjoy a Gatorade. You can just be a thirsty dude. Gatorade forgets about this demographic.
There you go, Mitch Hedberg. In 12 minutes, he gave us 7 points and 3 rebounds. He was everywhere. Absolutely willed his way to a defensive rebound and an offensive rebounds on consecutive plays. He's another guy who backed somebody down and made a shot. He drew fouls, went 5 of 6 from the line. He committed 4 fouls. I'm fine with that. He's a werewolf.
Look, if Robbie is in the doghouse, if he's not playing up to snuff, I'm not above letting Warlick go in there and do exactly what Robbie does. Exactly, like as far as going to the hoop, I think obviously it's going to be a different method, but I think he can absolutely bully anybody down low. I love this kid.
I don't know how he, if he plays the trigger man on the offense, but I think there are other things that Robbie does that he can do there. Shirt said he's more game ready than the other freshmen. He said he's got one of the highest.
He's more game ready than some of the upperclassmen.
Don't disagree with that. He said he's got the physicality, competitiveness, toughness. I don't think any of that's off at all. Per Stu, Warlick and Anya subbed for each other 10 times in the last 2:16 for offense, defense switching because you can't get Anya on the free throw line. Warlick, in addition to all of the things that we've been talking about, very good free throw shooter.
Warlick again. I just want to remind everybody that I was the first to call him to say he looked like Mitch Hedberg. I just want to make sure because I feel like it was stolen valor by Stu this week.
Yeah. I noticed that.
Also one more Mitch Hedberg quote before we get going. Let's see. He says, "Yeah, I'm not into sports. If someone told me I had athlete's foot, I'd say that's not my foot." Kellen Thames, a guy that is an athlete.
Yeah.
He was originally listed as questionable, then doubtful. Then the announcer made a comment that indicated he might be done for the season. To quote Shirts, he and I had a discussion after the GW game, and I'm going to keep that conversation confidential. He and I are totally on the same page. We are in lockstep on how to handle it. Kellen Thames is the best person I've met in St. Louis. I love that kid. He's everything you want. Obviously, it's a difficult situation. At the end of the day, he and I are in lockstep in what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. When asked if Kellen will play, he answered, "I'll let Kellen answer." Shirt said he will be with the team and said that Kellen spoke to the team in the locker room, and it was the best thing he's ever heard a player say in 17 years as a coach. I need to fucking know.
These are some pretty lofty quotes, and I left him in the notes for this game because we didn't really get any notes on Thames in the Dayton game. He didn't play. The weirdest thing is that he's been warming up for these games, and he's doing like windmill dunks, and he looks fantastic.
He's going to be like the golfer that gets into long driving. He's just going to be a dunk contest guy.
What's the Mac McClung or whatever that guy?
Yeah, he's just going to be the Mac McClung.
The NBA keeps him in hiding and brings him out once a year for the dunk contest.
Yes.
And then he goes back to the G League wilderness. I don't know. I mean, I don't have the answers here. I just wanted to kind of update people there if they hadn't heard that yet. And that's some really high praise from Shirts on his character and all of that kind of stuff. But I don't feel good about what's in store for his season and his career.
Yeah.
Which is tragic because he's such a good kid and a great basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine he's done for the year at minimum.
Sounded like that.
And I think that's I mean, look, it's I don't even know if it's red shirt. I don't even know. I don't think that's it. But I think it's worth not putting yourself in a position where you are worrying every day whether or not you're going to play, or how much you're going to play, or whether you're going to get out there and cramp and a guy's going to get an easy layup or a dunk or anything that completely changes the game. So, excuse me, I totally get it. It certainly is miserable to not be able to play the sport you love. But I would love to hear from Kellen. I think it would be, I certainly don't think we're owed it. I don't think anybody's owed it. I think the only person who should decide this is Kellen, and just as Shirts is saying.
Yeah, I don't know if he would get a red shirt because he did appear in 17 games already. And so he's over the minimum there, and he did get a medical red shirt for last year, right? So he is, a class younger than he otherwise would have been. Like he's listed as a red shirt sophomore. So I'm hoping, at this point, I just want to get him back next year, right?
Yes. I just want to get.
If we can get a full career out of him after this, like full health, that's what I want. I want them to figure out what's going on.
Yes.
Solve this thing,
there's no reason to not call Dr. House, call whatever that new show is that's a ripoff of Dr. House. Watson.
I don't know. The kind of shows that they advertise a lot during, sporting events and that I'll never watch.
The student section was great in this one. I expected them to overflow, and I don't think they did, but it was great.
Close.
It was great to see, and they were great. And apparently now the Slunatics STL Twitter account is back. Barstool Billikens are back. So again, look, this game happens. There's a fight, and then we have two kind of. I don't want to Slunatics is way more important, right? But that's back. And then but Barstool Billikens is also like kind of it's the subversive now, kind of profile that.
Yeah. I mean, bottom line is just interest is up.
Yes. Interest is up.
A rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes. Or a fight or ping pong balls, apparently. Shirt said that this was the first time that he had really felt the crowd in a big way, said they helped impact the game positively. I thought the crowd was way smaller than I expected.
It was a little smaller, but you could really hear them on TV, I got to say. They sounded great.
108, 109 was above me was sparse. And not sparse for a big game.
Yeah.
It was not ideal. Jackie Joyner Kersey was in the house with Rich and Ross Shafit. The coaches were in suits, but I think everybody rightly deduced that this was part of the Stand Up to Cancer initiative. Josh Shirts was wearing one in honor of his mom, who passed from cancer. The assistants also wore them. Of course, they wore the sneakers coaches versus cancer type sneaker look. The Billikens are now 2-1. 2-1. They lost one. I think they lost to GW in them. Or we lost at VCU in them?
We wore them on the road? I
think we did. I want to say we lost. I don't know. But at home, they're not 2-0 in those black jerseys. The blue jerseys. 2-0 at home. I could have just done that. Why didn't I do that?
There you go. Or I could have written that, but I thought that was the only 2 times they wore them.
Yeah. We'll share the one. 50-50. Pete, we have a 71-63 loss versus Dayton Friday the 31st. I gotta say, this day, when in Back to the Future 2, when Doc Brown pulls off the makeup or whatever, and he's younger, I feel like that, like leading into this game.
So you're feeling more energized.
Oh gosh, I was on fire. Yeah. I was ready to rock. I was there. I was down at Humphreys at like 3.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. When you called me, I looked at the clock and I was like, oh, he's getting started.
He's ready. He's feeling like a kid again.
Yeah. I was like, I'm still at work and I'm an hour ahead of you. So somebody's getting after it today. But it was the Arch Baron Cup. It was Friday 10, national televised on ESPN2, sold out crowd. First since VCU a couple seasons ago, I guess, but this one was actually going to be, more full.
I got a problem with our season ticket holders. And I'm talking about the season ticket holders in the expensive seats. Whatever companies, whatever people own those seats. God damn it.
Just give them up. If no one's ever going to show, give them up.
Like if you want
to just make a donation to the athletic department, do it. But if you're just going to buy seats that nobody's ever going to use, you're wasting everyone's time. It's stupid. I hate it. It looks bad on TV. I gotta say,
especially with the shirts.
Yes,
that's gonna be really confusing. This is the first time this has gotten confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was the Billiken Blizzard giveaway. The Lou T-shirt, which was cool. Jordair Jet was in the house. DeVell Roby sat next to him.
He showed up late. I'm gonna call him. I didn't see him for a while. I thought he was going to be out there earlier. It was out of town. Well, it was hilarious because he tweeted out, it was like 5:00 and he's like, pregame at Humphreys. And I'm like, Jordair, do you know what time the game is? You're not here. I haven't seen you showing up at Humphreys yet. What are you doing?
Maybe he was coming from a different time zone or something. I don't know. I guess we don't have to make excuses.
No, we don't care. It does not matter. He's Jordair Jet. He can do what he wants.
Mike McCall, Hassan French, other former Bills were tweeting about it in the 24 hours leading up to the game. This was the most buzz I could remember before a big game in a long time, Zach. And
it was very uncomfortable.
I was optimistic. I was so pumped for this game. I couldn't concentrate on work in the afternoon. Once I got my stuff done, I was like, all right, that's it. I can't get ahead on other projects right now. Nobody emailed me. I'm locking in now.
It was wild. People were filing into Humphreys at 3:30, 4:00. It was packed. You could not get a drink. It was great. It was awesome. I booed some day. Wasn't I on the phone with you when that happened?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm on the phone with Peter, and I'm driving down Compton, and I see 6 Dayton fans walking along the road on the sidewalk, and I just roll down my window and go, boo! And it was just and Peter's on the phone as I'm talking to Peter.
I can confirm this story. Yes.
It was so I was getting after it early. I was hyped. We talked about it that you tweeted out that it was. What did you say? It was as much as a missed opportunity?
We'll get to that at the end of the game.
Okay.
Because suffice it to say that we had a lot of energy going into this game.
And we felt this game had major implications.
Major.
Beyond this season.
Yep. And all that happens in front of that sold out crowd with all that energy, all that hype coming off the fight game, the win over VCU, full student section, everything you could possibly want, national TV. The first half was an absolute disaster. Dayton hits 10 straight field goals at one point, many of them from three. They finished 7 of 13 for three from the half. Robbie Avila picked up 2 early fouls and looked bad when he was back in. We'll get back to him in a minute. Isaiah Swope wasn't himself in the first half. Gibson Jimerson was the only starter who really showed up in that half, Zach. It was a bad half of basketball, and it was such a letdown with all of that hype coming into it. It was just so deflating to come out like that, because now
it was as deflating as the SAI and the Saint and Louis chant that they do. That killed the vibe in there.
Gotcha.
Killed the vibe. Sorry,
so
go on.
37-25 is the half. We're minus 12 at halftime, and we've got to obviously work an uphill battle to get back in the game, to get the crowd back in the game. Oh, Zach, I mean, like, that's everything that we could not afford in that first half, and of course that's what happens.
Yeah, it was man. It was, again, the end of the game got to the point where it felt like we were going to make a run multiple times in that first half. It felt like we could make a run and cut it down, and it would get from like 13 to 11 or 10, and it would just balloon back up.
Yep. I mean, SLU, to their credit, made it interesting. Dayton always seemed to have an answer, though. SLU got to within 2 once. I think it was 54-52. We got to within 4 several times, but it seemed like whenever we'd hit that 4, that's when they'd hit a 3 or something, because they weren't hitting many in the second half. I think they only made 4 3-pointers, but so Jimerson's layup made it 54-52 at the 7:04 mark. Javon Bennett, who of course has a career day, converted at the other end to make it 4 again. Jimerson missed a 3. Dayton turned it over. Robbie gets called for a charge, and then Santos hits a 3 to make it 7. All right. So the other time, Swope made it a 4-point game again a minute later. Dayton missed twice on the same possession. Robbie misses a layup, which, the whole stadium groans. And then Letang at the other end, the guy he's guarding, goes down, hits a 3 to make it 7. So SLU gets it down to 5 3 more times, but just couldn't get any closer to that. And 2 of those times when we had 5 wound up losing the possession because of some, strange calls. But it was just one of those things, Zach, where we just could not string the necessary amount of possessions together. It was so... I mean, this game was just, your bubble was getting popped over and over and over again.
Are we going to get to the officiating later, or can I go off?
I don't think I made a note about the officiating.
Okay.
So I would say go off, King.
Thanks. It feels like more often than not, like, I don't think we ever get a home whistle, or very rarely. But more often than not, the refs are fine, on the macro level of the game. But it just feels like anytime we have a major moment on the court that with a chance to tie a game, cut a lead to 1, take the lead late in a game, and this has crossed many seasons, it just feels like the ball gets taken out of our hands by some sort of call.
Yep.
It feels like we get called for the calls that affect the game directly more than the, touch foul 30 feet from the basket when you're not in the bonus fouls. And again, I have no idea. I'm not saying there's a bias. I'm not blaming the refs for loss. I'm just fucking tired of it inventing. So yeah,
it is pretty amazing, and we don't have the data.
Yeah, there's no data.
We're never going to have that data.
That's the thing. That's how they get away with it.
You and I have been watching this program long enough to know, in the box scores, I'll acknowledge, might say like, oh, they had more fouls than us, we shot more, or whatever. But it was like, The calls that we got when we got them were crazy. The lane violation that the ref underneath the basket was willing to let go because the Dayton player stepped in the lane first. And then the ref who was on the side behind them, between the players and the bench, said no. He like hooked him into the lane, right? Like knocked him into the lane. So they called the free throw off, Dayton ball, right?
Yes.
So there's one. Another one, Jimerson jump stops in the lane. A Zed Key lands on top of him. They call it travel. Did he shuffle his feet? Was it a travel? Yeah, sure, fine, maybe, but like, good Lord, like not only did he just bobble a jump stop, but like a 220-pound guy lands on top of him. Another one, Isaiah Swope gets the ball on the wing.
Oh God!
To jump stop for a three,
Never
takes
seen
an extra
this.
step, and they call it travel.
Unbelievable.
And it was the kind of stuff like there's the spirit of the law and the letter of the law, and for some reason they decided to start calling the letter of the law on every little thing that SLU did in the second half, and every single one of them just absolutely sapped the energy from whatever kind of comeback we were trying to mount every time, and that's just three examples of pretty many, honestly. So. It's the kind of stuff, and I think what I tweeted at one point was just, if those calls, like those kind of calls, not just like 50-50 calls that the home crowd doesn't like, not, hard fouls versus soft fouls, but like weird calls, things you just don't see very often, happen in the second half of a game where Dayton has a single-digit deficit that they're trying to make up at UD Arena, they would have murdered the refs, like literally chased the refs down and like a pack of wild dogs and clean them up. So for Dayton fans to like be like on Twitter after the game being like, well, you had more fouls or we had more fouls than you or whatever. It's like, I've been to UD Arena conservatively 20 times, 20 games, and those refs would just all three be deceased. Yes. After that second half. I'm just telling you that's what it is. Now, is that fair? Is it right that they don't get to call those calls or whatever? I'm just saying that's reality. Yeah. And so the fact that somehow we just do not get a home whistle is just baffling to me.
I think I mean I've always said it's the East Coast refs happen to fly all the way out. I want to see what the numbers are at Loyola. I want to see if Loyola fans feel the same way.
Yeah, so far. It's worth a conversation. It's worth a conversation.
Oh, Robbie.
Ugh.
Oh, buddy. You got figured out. This is the worst game of his SLU career so far. I can't imagine it's too far from the bottom of his Indiana State career as well.
Yeah, I think Schertz said it might have been, and that he's also having the roughest stretch of his career. So even if he did have a game there that was less productive at some point in his freshman or sophomore year, it's hard to believe that he's put together a few games in a row that have been this bad. When you look back at like George Washington, and the VCU game was good, not great,
enough.
Good
enough.
Yeah, so this
that'll do.
4 points on 1 of 7 shooting. 0 for 2 from 3, 2 of 6 from the free throw line, 10 rebounds, which great, 7 turnovers, fouled out in 32 minutes. I mean, we're talking missed free throws, missed layups, missed threes, missed reads, bobbling the ball. So his turnovers were not just passes that were a little overzealous or ill-advised. It was not being able to handle the ball when it was passed to him. It was everything. Yeah. On every possession, and yet Zach, it's hard to even take him out of the game.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right. You disagree with? Let me make.
No, I don't disagree. It's just I find the whole concept of not taking guys out to be. I don't know. Again, I look back to the with the lens of nostalgia at the Majerus teams that were running 9 guys out there a night. So I maybe 10, I think. I don't know, but I think the gravitas of his figure is important enough that he's got to be out there. But I do think there are players that can do what he does to a point, and obviously you lose the gravitas, and that's just the decision that you make as a coach. It's a yeah. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand why Church does.
Well, I can tell you this much. He picked up his second foul at 13:31 left in the first half. Dayton extended their lead by 10 with him on the bench. So he finished +5.
He still played decently in defense.
He was +1 at halftime, +5 in the game because, he fouled out and Dayton scored at the end, hit free throws at the end. We just kind of need him in there for the offense to run. He was terrible. I can't deny it. He was not good in this game, but things still kind of run through him. His defense wasn't bad. It's just frustrating that we're kind of in that predicament.
Yeah. It was one of those where he caused the loss, plain and simple. I mean, his play led directly to. I mean, as much as we can sit here and him and Ha about the refs, like Robbie turned the ball over in crunch time twice, three times. And he's got to be better. If you're the talisman, you can have an average night. You can't suck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's surprising for him to, like we said, do everything wrong, like all of those things wrong. I get it if your shot's not falling. I get it if it's not your best passing night, or your hands are a little shaky or whatever. But like for it all to happen,
what did he go drinking last night? His hands are a little shaky.
Just whatever. I mean, he was wobbling every ball, man.
It's frustrating that you watch some of the stuff that Shirts pulls off, he calls, and it works to perfection. I sometimes I think he's too slow to go to a set, and I'd like to see him try to manufacture points a little more from the sideline.
Sure,
because I think there are points in the games where, like, how many times did Jimerson get that? What was it, that weak side ball screen and then the seal at the I don't even know what it would be called, but he gets the ball up here. Everybody's kind of over here except for he's getting screened, and then he goes right, and then the low post just seals him off. Saw it a lot with Majerus actually, but I think more of that. I don't I think maybe they're reluctant to try to manufacture baskets, but I really like it when the offense kind of converges in the paint as well.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of passing in small spaces, but you're working your way in there. And I think we do well when two guys are moving towards the paint.
Yeah.
I don't know if I made any sense there, but we'll go with it. It's those little passes that don't look like they should be basketball passes.
That's right.
Where they're just like, oh, there's a guy. Okay. Oh, there's a guy over the top. Like, you're just like, wait a minute. That doesn't look like a basketball play, but we have a guy wide open.
Yeah. Right.
Jimerson, he is he's played the most minutes in Billiken history by far, and will, and probably never be touched.
It would be hard to conceive. It would be awesome if somebody breaks it, because that probably means we went on some really deep runs.
Yes.
But he is the 34th player in NCAA history to pass the 5,000 minute mark for his career. And in his 40 minutes in this game, of course, 40 minutes again, he had 21 points on 8 of 14 shooting. Zach, he showed up twice this week in big games. The same cannot be said of anyone else on SLU, save for maybe Dylan Warlick. But of the starters, certainly, credit to Jimerson.
Yes.
Over the course of this season, he's been tagged a one-half wonder. He's been tagged a bum slayer. He's been tagged.
He's been saddled with the being the white guard on a college basketball team. Like Kyle Cassidy, Jake Barnett, Gibson, Jimerson, all guys who got undue criticism. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but he's also kind of, at times we've wondered, does he have tired legs? Is he kind of spent? Is he just, is it just gas? Is he exhausted? And he's proving us all wrong with this week. because he played big minutes in big games against two of the best teams in conference, and he showed up and showed out.
He was outstanding. Again, him getting to the rim is just, it's effective, and it's sneaky effective. And I think the more he does it, the more opportunities he's going to have to make open threes.
Right. It just keeps defenses honest.
Yes.
Yep. Swope ended up with 15 and 5. He didn't do enough in the second half to make up for a poor first half. He also had 5 turnovers. Look, he hit some big shots in this game. He made some good plays. But the first half got out of control, and he was kind of a non-factor in that half, and that was a problem, because with Robbie playing as bad as he was, it was just kind of like Gibson and everybody else. And that's a half where we really needed Swope. Dayton's guards were going off from 3, and we just didn't have answers.
I would have liked to see Picard.
I'm surprised to hear you say that.
I know, it's shocking. Turnovers were an issue in general. 19 is a bad number against a team that is their. I mean, Dayton's conservative. They were real conservative in that second half too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They usually force only 11. Shirts agreed that most of these were unforced errors or boneheads, as he called them. Dayton got 23 points over the 19 turnovers, and the Billikens got 7 off 12.
Yep.
It's certainly not going to do it for you. My man's Mitch Hedberg, Dylan Warlick, Spark off the bench. Huge game. Huge.
10 points in 18 minutes. And I know his plus minus is an unkind minus 15, but most of that is because he came in, like we said, with Killian Brockhoff in the first half when Robbie picked up that second foul. So I think his plus minus is thrown by that. And I don't think it's a real illustration of what his value was in this game, Zach.
The only thing that kills me about Warlick is it changes. Like, we have to go to a completely different style of play to include him, because he can't really. I mean, he could come in for Jimerson. I think he absolutely could, but he doesn't come in so much in that smaller defender role. I don't want to say guard, because that's not how really Shirts refers to it. But also, by the way, I want to see him shoot more threes, a lot more threes. He's been nails.
Yeah, he's a good shooter. That's an element.
I thought he was a shooter.
Oh, really?
I thought he came in as like a token shooter.
He's a better shooter than I realized. Free throws and
3 of 6. 3 of 6 from 3. He's shooting 81% from the line. He's shooting 57% from 2, which puts him
that's a 180 shooter, Zach.
Yeah.
It's a small sample size, but I think he's earned his minutes.
I mean, that puts him just behind Kaluanya for the highest field goal percentage.
Yeah.
Not named AJ Casey or Jaden Shirts.
Well, he won't hit the minimum number of attempts, but I don't know, maybe he will. He's got to play a lot more down the stretch.
Yeah.
Javon Bennett from Dayton had a season high 19 points, went 4 of 8 from 3. Cheeks and Santos also hit some big shots. And yeah, you're right. Of course he did. He's a small guard. He's pesky. I don't know, Zach. It was hard to watch those guys go off in the first half. And Dayton did exactly what I thought they would do in the second half, and they took the air out of the ball. And they are very much to blame for letting us back into that game.
Yeah. This loss, if they give up that game to us, I think that's Anthony Grant's head on a platter, right?
Oh, they would have lost it. They would have absolutely lost it. I mean, but look, Zach, so we got to circle back to the conversation about the missed opportunity.
Yeah.
We hate Dayton. People who know us know that. Anyone who listens to this show, anyone who knows us in any context. But this loss, I think, was more devastating than usual because of the level of missed opportunity here. I think this really could have been an inflection point for the program. The game was on national TV. It was a sold-out arena. We're coming off the Brawl game. a win over a previously one-loss VCU team that most people thought was the best team in the league. The fan base was rejuvenated. Casual fans were curious again. Students were as energized as they've ever been, showing up at 4:30 to get in. Along with VCU and George Mason, SLU could have really walled off the rest of the league and into a pretty solid top three with a nice gap, giving us all pretty solid lanes to a top 4 seed and a double bye in the A10 tournament. That gets tighter now. It also would have meant SLU held serve on home court against VCU and Dayton, and the worst you could have been in those 4 games is 2-2. Now they have to go win at Dayton to get that, which they haven't done in over a decade. I think, Zach, that this would have been a defining game for the start of the Shirts era to go, okay, that game right there, that's when it all started, right? Like that's the week, that's the game. And now that stuff isn't all impossible, but it's just going to take a lot more time and effort. And we don't know when the next opportunity like this will be. We had everybody's attention heading into this game, and I think we kind of fumbled it, Zach.
Yeah, we did. I thought this could have been an inflection point as well. I mean, we talked about it before the game that this this city's ready to pop off. They have kind of nothing right now. The Blues are stinky. City's not playing. There's nothing else going on sports wise. This felt like '94. I think I've said that before, and this game felt like the kickoff, like Erwin Claggett high stepping into off a 3. Like that's what this night felt like it could have been, and it didn't go that way. And Shirts knew it. He said, "I just wanted to personally thank all of the students and fans who came out last night and created such an incredible atmosphere inside Chavetz Arena. Unfortunately, our team's performance didn't mirror yours. If it had, the result would have been different. We are working hard with the goal of making last night's atmosphere the norm, because when it's packed like that and loud like that, we can have one of the best home court advantages in all of college basketball. Hope you guys will stick with this group. Your energy and support has helped us to some big-time wins this month, and we need you down the stretch run to finish strong. Thank you for last night. We will continue to work and earn that level of support on a regular basis." Yeah.
It's just a massive, massive letdown. And when a win would have gone such a long way.
Yeah.
Like this win, this would have been a multiplier type win. Like it's not one win. It was so much more than that. And now we have to live with that immediate reality of having to deal with Dayton and their insufferable fans.
They're awful.
Winning another installment of the Arch Baron Cup, which to their credit, they have owned lately. And Zach, it just sucks. I hate it more than anything. I want to win the next 25 of these things and shut those bozos up because I cannot stand them.
Dayton is probably the thing I see you get most fired up about ever.
Absolutely. It's true.
Yeah.
Look, it's the closest team to me, right?
Yeah.
Or the closest A10 team, I should say. And I work with people from Dayton. It's just one of those things. I mean, that's the game that I get to every year, no matter what the weather is or what the night of the week is. It's a Tuesday night this year. I'll be there. And I just really would have rather gone to that game with the current edition of the Arch Baron Cup in our trophy case and not theirs.
Yeah, I think both of us thought that there was a world where we won that game the other night going away.
Oh, yeah. We weren't the only ones. I mean, this fan base was very optimistic going into that game.
Yeah, we should stop doing that.
I had more than one person text me about the spread, the line coming into that game, because Dayton was -1.5, and they were like, "I got to take that, right?" And I was like, "I don't gamble on sports.
I don't gamble
for a
on
good reason.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty optimistic about this game. I didn't tell anybody, don't do that. I was more like, I'm optimistic. I feel good about it. I like what I'm seeing. And so, of course, we belly flop in that first half.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. And anybody who sold their tickets to a Dayton fan can kick rocks.
Yeah, if your tickets wound up in the hands of, you need to do a pretty serious penance.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't. What's the second weirdest thing that could happen this week? We saw a fight. We saw a fight between the parents of a former Billiken and Billiken fans.
Yeah.
And I thought we were done. I thought we had seen it all. But the universe really decided we needed more. More stupidity, more weirdness, more bizarre bullshit.
I think
I don't like this question because I don't want to face the answer being yes.
Then frame it however you want to frame it.
Drake's wearing a Billiken practice jersey while he's in Perth, Australia. It's Justin Tatum's practice jersey.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't like. I loved Kendrick's diss track on Drake. I think he's spot on. So I don't like this so much.
I've always, number one, loved Kendrick, and number two, I have never liked Drake. Never. Like when he was first blowing up and like the biggest thing in rap, not my thing.
No,
right?
I just wasn't.
So the fact that it has, this whole Kendrick Drake thing has blown up and Kendrick has pretty much owned him up and down, has been pretty funny to me. It's also a little bit sad if the things he's saying are true. It makes a lot of people associated with Drake kind of, you kind of raise an eyebrow at.
Yeah.
So there are a couple reasons, Zach, which like I don't know if this is what I want.
I mean, I'm surprised he wasn't wearing a high school jersey.
Yeah. This is kind of a Drake diss track right here.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We're diss tracking all up and down here. That is how they talk. That's how they talk in the rap game.
So a few things here, Zach. So that Justin Tatum practice jersey, that would have been, so Tatum was on campus my freshman year, but he was, out of school by the time the season started.
Yeah.
So that was the year that, they more or less told him it was time to go. That practice jersey, I don't recognize. We never had names on practice jerseys. So
that was bizarre to me.
I don't know what that was. Maybe they did that for a period in the late 90s. It matched the font on the front of the jersey.
Yeah.
Maybe Justin had it added. I have no idea. Yeah. I can't explain.
It's entirely possible that he added that. That is a bizarre font. That is a bizarre size and font.
What I do know is that he's coaching in Australia in the NBL now.
Yeah,
right. Drake was wearing this in Australia. And the other thing I can say for sure is that Jason Tatum has been a Drake fan for a long time, because I remember Tatum wrote about, he was like as an All-American, he was writing, I don't remember if it was for Slam or one of the basketball publications. He was writing like a monthly diary or whatever. And he would talk about how Drake was his favorite rapper, right? So he's liked Drake for forever. And so there's a few connections there that kind of make sense that this all happened. And when SLU Athletics and SLU Men's Basketball tweeted this out, Jason Tatum retweeted it with just a fire emoji. But there's also another thing, Zach, that we haven't touched upon here. In addition to the headlines and the Kendrick feud and all the other stuff around Drake, there's a bit of what's known as a Drake curse.
Yeah, you don't want Drake to be a fan of your team.
So Drake has shown up as a high profile fan of certain programs, and things have gone south around that time. Whether it's Kentucky, was it true of the Raptors, or who else has it been true of?
Oh God. So do you do UCLA or something like that? USC? He's done it before.
I'm bringing it up on FanDuel right now. So their timeline of the Drake curse is Vlad Guerrero Jr. is number 1 in 2019. Number 2, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're just cursed in general.
Number 3, there were some NFL teams that he backed, and they lost all of those games in 2019. Number 4, Alabama football. He publicly backed number 1 Alabama ahead of their 44-16 loss in Clemson in the national championship.
When did he wear this jersey? Did he wear it before Friday night?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know when it just circulated as we speak this afternoon.
And then it had to be. Then it had to be this weekend, right? It could have been Friday.
I would think it would be after Friday. Yeah. But this goes back. Conor McGregor, Golden State Warriors, Serena Williams, Andrew Wiggins, and Johnny Manziel, Kentucky, Toronto Raptors. So, in various points, all of these very good teams or athletes have had bad performances in the immediate aftermath of Drake showing up to support them. So, I don't know what this means for our upcoming week, Zach, but
as long as he doesn't come to a game, he's not allowed in Chaffetz. I don't believe in superstition, but that's convincing.
What if he warms up with the team like he did with Kentucky?
Oh my God, get the fuck off the court. I swear to God.
All the Kentucky players, they hung out at his house, I know, at least one time.
That's not good.
I think
that's not good. Millie Bobby Brown was probably there.
I think we got to probably, as much as they would like to hang out and see his estate and everything, I think we probably got to keep our players away.
Yeah, no, that's not good. I would say Drake endorsing the Billikens is worse than the fight.
Yeah. Man,
that's tough.
I think it's there are
apples to oranges.
Drake fans, and this is the kind of thing that I guess will get some attention. But
right.
I don't know. I think the fight is probably better for us.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
Tuesday. Next up, we got UMass and Philly. So it's not a two Philly game swing. It's just one.
No, yeah, it's two road games, two in the Northeast, but only one in Philly. We've got Tuesday the 4th at UMass. They're 10-12 overall. They're 5-4 in the A10 in Frank Martin's third year in charge and final season before they go to the MAC. Rasul Diggins is the leading scorer, the guy who set a program record with 46 points. Yeah, at Fordham in that insane game a few weeks ago. He's coming off a week where he scored 27 at Rhode Island and 32 at Duquesne. It's odd. He seems to actually be scoring more on the road than at home. He shoots 33.5% from three and 39% overall, but he's obviously capable of heating up, and he's in the midst of the best stretch of the season. You got to watch out for that guy. Jalen Curry is a 6-foot sophomore point guard, averaging 12.6 points a game and 4.1 assists per game. He seems to be playing in a rhythm lately with Diggins. Like when Diggins goes off, he's content to take a secondary role and feed him. When Diggins isn't going off, he takes on more of a scoring role. So those guys have developed a pretty good working relationship. One of them is generally going to lead the team in scoring. 6'6" forward Daniel Rivera injured his foot and never played at SLU. But then he went to Bryant, played well for a season before transferring to UMass. Now he's averaging 12 points a game, 7.5 rebounds a game. Daniel Hankins Sanford is bigger than him. He's 6'8", 233. He averages about 8 and 6 a game. They've got a couple of guys bigger than that who are, lower rotation players. Look, UMass is in the near the bottom of the country in made 3-pointers, just 5.4 a game. They shoot 28.3% from three. They only take about 20 per game as well. But throw that out the window if Diggins gets hot, right? Like you can't just concede the perimeter to them. But they mostly just want to get to the rim. They're 4th in the country in 2-point attempts per game. They're not really efficient from anywhere. They just kind of want to force tempo and attack the rim. They're also a pretty good offensive rebounding team. Defensively, they block a lot of shots. They create a lot of steals. They foul a lot, but they also draw a lot of fouls because they're always just attacking the rim. So I would think of them as kind of like a poor man's VCU.
Destitute, man.
Yeah, the players aren't as good. They aren't as disciplined at what they do, but they actually do some things that SLU doesn't necessarily handle well. So the way that I would look at this is just kind of buckle up for a sloppy road game. I still think we're the much better team. Mm-hmm. I still like our chances here. But it's going to be ugly one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't like playing UMass. I don't like going to the East Coast. It makes me nervous.
Depending on how things shake out in the conference tournament, this could be our last game against them ever. At least, until we play a non-conference game somewhere down the road. But
Pete, I'd like to hold a moment of silence. Okay, cool.
Light a candle.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Friday the 7th, they are heading to Philly for a matchup with the Hawks on Hawk Hill.
Yeah, we've already seen the Hawks once. We beat them 73-57 at SLU on January 3rd. Since then, they've lost to Duquesne, VCU, Dayton, and Loyola. They've beaten Loyola, Davidson, and Duquesne. So a couple splits in there. A 58-55 loss at Loyola was the last one, and right now they've been alternating wins and losses. So they're due for a win if the pattern holds, but really they're just a coin flip in this league on any given night. They get 6 days off before SLU, so we're technically their next opponent, and they'll be well rested at home. They've been cold from three in their past 3 games, but then again, so was Dayton heading into Friday night, so I try not to put too much stock in that. Their big 3, Reynolds, Brown, and Fleming, have still been pretty productive, even if they haven't always shot well. They get to the line a lot. They're finding ways to score. But look, there's also the Billy Lang factor in this game, and he's an easy guy to outcoach. This is very much the same team we saw a month ago. You just don't know which version you're going to get. The team that can beat Villanova, the team that can lose to Central Connecticut. You just have to do the things that you do well and try and guard that 3-point line.
Yep. Let's go around the A10, Pete. Tuesday, the 28th, Bonaventure beats Dayton because why not? 75-53 at home. Wednesday, the 29th, Rhode Island takes down UMass 88-82. GW beats Richmond 75-66. Mason beats Loyola 58-53. And I'm still not ready to say that George Mason is – I think this is the same as George Mason soccer this year. Weak conference schedule, early especially.
Barely
Dayton,
beating everybody.
They're barely beating everybody, and Dayton was dog poop. So, Dayton was another team. That's not the same Dayton team. So I don't even count that. St. Joe's 76, Duquesne 72, Fordham 88, LaSalle 72. Saturday 10, Pete.
St. Bonaventure 74, Fordham 72. Hung on for a close one there.
Because why not? Why wouldn't I don't understand this stupid ass conference.
It makes no sense, but we'll see that in the standings in a
minute.
UMass 62, Duquesne 53. That's the Duke's 4th loss in a row. Loyola 58, St. Joe's 55 at Loyola. LaSalle 73, George Washington 67, because again, why not?
Yeah.
George Mason 64, Davidson 60 in a squeaker. They don't win anything convincingly. And this one, Zach, saw a mile away coming. This was the one game I felt confident about this weekend, and I had every right to be, because VCU 90, Richmond 49. I want to say that was 44-13 at halftime, if I remember correctly.
It was so bad.
Just unbelievable. So bad. It was at the Siegel Center. Richmond still gets to go sleep in their own beds. I don't know. You got to show up for your crosstown rival.
Yeah. What was the game? Was it George Mason Loyola that was the worst game of the week? Absolutely awful.
Oh yeah, that one was
it was like watching Lindenwood against SIUE.
Both of Loyola's games this week were sloppy games in the 50s.
Leading the conference right now is Fraud Mason, 8-1. VCU in second, 7-2. The Billiken 6-3, sitting alone in third. Dayton and UMass are tied in fourth. Bonaventure is 5-5. Loyola Chicago is 4-4, and the logjam has moved down to the dumps. You've got Rhode Island, George Washington, St. Joe's, LaSalle, and Duquesne, all sitting at 4-5. Davidson's 3-5, and then Fordham and Richmond are 2-7. This conference is stupid.
It makes no sense. And every one of those names you read off, I think of our losses and just think, oh God, would I love to have that one back.
Mm-hmm. 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 Let's talk about our survivor picks. We're still alive, baby.
Still alive. Last week, Zach, you had VCU over Bonaventure. That was a win. I had Mason over Loyola. This week, you had Loyola over Bonaventure. This week, I guess we should delineate. It starts on Friday. So you had the weekend game, Loyola over Bonaventure. You seemed surprisingly confident about that one, and it was a game that I did not feel very confident about, and they did squeak out a win, I guess.
What, VCU over Bonaventure?
No, what you had Loyola.
Oh, I haven't played yet, I guess. No. Yeah, I haven't played yet.
You haven't. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That one has not happened yet. I was looking at the wrong line. VCU over Richmond is what I had, and that was the win.
I was actually confident. No, what you were confusing is last week I said Loyola over Mason, and then I went and tried to get cocky about it this week, and it didn't work out for me.
That's right. Yeah, I had that mixed up. So yeah, you have Loyola over Bonaventure. Has not happened yet. That happens on Tuesday. But yeah, I had VCU over Richmond. So I am still alive in the winners bracket, Zach. And yeah, we'll see what next week brings, but still in the money.
You know what makes me feel like a winner?
What's that, Zach?
2 Men in the Garden products. Every time I eat them, it makes me feel like a winner.
It's hard not to feel like a winner when you can get $9.99 nationwide shipping on anything on their website. I haven't tested how big an order you can actually do and get away with that shipping amount, but that's something I might need to try sooner than later, Zach. I want to reiterate what a good deal the classic dill pickle spears are at $7.99. Their other pickles are all $6.99, but they're smaller jars. They're the chips. Get the spears, $7.99, load up a case of them, and then get the $9.99 nationwide shipping. You won't be disappointed. Tell them we sent you in your order notes, too. They'll keep supporting the show. We'll keep supporting them. Everybody wins. Go do it over at twomeningarden.com.
On the women's side of things, this was essentially child abuse. 80-53 loss against George Mason at home Wednesday the 29th on Education Day. Thousands of screaming kids in the stands, and by the end of the game, they're screaming in horror.
Yes. Oh, will someone think of the children? This was 40-20 at halftime. I don't know. I don't know how you do that at home. I mean, George Mason, I should say, is a very good team. They're a top 3 team in conference on the women's side, but they held SLU to a 7-point second quarter. They led wire to wire. Look, Mason's 9-2 now in A10 play. They're 18-3 overall. I think they're on a 7-game winning streak. And it wasn't because of the rebounding, Zach. They grabbed 5 more rebounds than the Patriots in this game. SLU played big again, and they've improved on that front. But the shooting is just not showing up.
Was it not good earlier in the season? I'm confused.
It wasn't great earlier in the season, but when you pull up the game by game summary, it's really fallen off as we've gotten into A10 play. Really fallen off. 30.2% from the field, 15% from 3, and uncharacteristic 60% from the line. And then turnovers yet again. SLU had 18, Mason had 9. I don't know what to say, man. The team can't shoot. They don't get good shots.
Shavers had her first double-double with 10 and 10. Zahira Walton got anything she wanted. She went for 35 and 6. 5th game in a row with a 3-point percentage in the teens. That is horrendous. That is horrific. That is terrible. They haven't hit more than 5 3-pointers since December 18th. The last time they shot over 30% from 3 was December 15th. There was actually a stretch from about Thanksgiving to mid-December where the perimeter shooting was okay. That was probably the only time I got to watch games after I just said that I thought it was pretty decent early in the season. That coincided with Mia Bergstrom getting hot. Tillett has been forced to play bigger lately, and Bergstrom has been kind of relegated to a bench role and hasn't been able to really connect on her attempts. And I don't know, when you're playing big, I don't know how Mia Bergstrom doesn't fit into that because she is pretty tall, like much taller than me.
She's a big guard. I don't
We don't say that.
have
We don't say that phrase anymore.
a big guard. I don't have. I don't mean it.
Did anybody get that?
Stop.
Did anybody get that? Anybody? Okay.
I
All right. We finally. I went a little far for it.
Yeah. No, we need to forget that.
Yeah. Deep cut.
But yeah, look, there's got to be a way to work her in there because 3-point shooters need reps, and playing her 4-7 minutes a game, whatever, she'll get a couple attempts and just can never really get in a rhythm, unfortunately. But Zach, they turned it around later this week with a 59-53 win over Fordham at home on Saturday the 1st. It was the Girl Scout game. It was the alumni game.
They did it for the cookies, baby.
They did it for the cookies. They actually led by 14. They led pretty comfortably for a lot of this game. So I kind of like the Kentucky-Arkansas game was on, and that had my attention.
Yes.
And then I would come back to this one. So they led by 14 with 6:17 left in the game. Then Fordham went on a 14-0 run to tie it. So there was a point early in the fourth quarter where I'm like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good about this. And then I look back and it was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Each team made some free throws after they tied it in the last couple minutes. It went to overtime. The last points of regulation came from a Fordham 2-point jumper with 28 seconds left. SLU wasn't able to get anything after that. Very frustrating. But even crazier is the fact that SLU held Fordham to 12 first half points and couldn't run away with this game. Yeah. They only scored 18 in the first half. But they did finish overtime on a 9-0 run. They did well forcing turnovers. They got Fordham to take bad shots. I give them a lot of credit for that. Fordham's shooting numbers in this game were terrible. And then they made free throws when it counted. So they pulled out the win, but man, they made it harder on themselves than they needed to.
Yeah, they were out rebounded 53-45. By the way, alumni game. Team shout out Tyler McElraith.
Nice.
SLU women alumni.
Yeah. Well
that's a deep cut jersey too. That's for I have no idea where I got it.
Real ones now.
Real ones. If IYKYK.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, 53-45 was the rebounding margin in favor of the Rams. They gave up an astonishing 28 offensive rebounds. Apparently, that's a virus that's been permeating Chaffetz Arena. Gave Fordham 19 extra field goal attempts. So again, they won 1.5 games. SLU was 3 of 13 from 3, the 6th straight game, making either 2 or 3 pointers in an entire game. Tiara Simon led the Billikens with 19 and 12. Peyton Kennedy came off the bench and was 1 for 8 in 15 minutes. She is still limited by whatever is ailing her.
Yeah.
It was ugly, but they needed the win. Any win they can grab.
Yeah, for sure. And Fordham's ahead of them in the standings, Zach. As I said, George Mason's one of the top 3 teams. Richmond is 8-1. Mason and St. Joe's are 9-2. SLU still has road games at St. Joe's and at Richmond. So
why has Richmond only played 9 games?
Not sure.
So is Rhode Island. There's 11. Yeah, it's crazy.
So those are the top 3 by far. Rhode Island is 4th with a 6-3 record. Dayton 7-4, then Fordham and UMass are both 6-4, so that's a nice win for SLU. Duquesne and Davidson are 5-4. VCU is next at 4-6. Then you've got SLU at 3-7 right now, out of that bottom 4 pillow fight, which involves Loyola Chicago at 3-8, LaSalle at 2-8, George Washington and Bonaventure both 1-9. Of course, Bonaventure's 1 came against you know who. So that's the standings right now, Zach, and it's been rough on the women's side. Like I said, they've still got those 2 really hard road games, but I don't know. I'd like to think they can stay out of that pillow fight.
Yeah, I think so. I think they've got some talent. They just I think Tillett's going to put together at least a semblance of a decent finish. Men's soccer, outgoing transfers. Jack Sullivan's heading to Akron. Incoming transfers, per TDS, we have 3 new incoming transfers, Pete. Xavier O'Neal, Fabian Hilpert, and JC Cortez.
Yeah, O'Neal is a forward from Boston College. He's from the Northern Virginia area. He's got dual citizenship, U.S. and Trinidad and Tobago. He started 12 games as a sophomore and has
My
two
favorite part of
full
D2.
seasons of eligibility left. Fabian Hilpert is from Embry-Riddle, which is a D2 school in Daytona Beach, Florida.
What'd you say
He
to me?
was listed as a freshman in 2024. He's from the Netherlands. He's played for several Dutch club teams. He led the Eagles this past season in goals, points, shots on goal, and had all 4 game winners for them this season. JC Cortez is the defender from UCLA, played 2 seasons and then sat in 2024 due to injury, so he should have 2 full seasons left. He's from Ridgewood, New Jersey, played for New York Red Bulls too, and was a top 100 recruit coming out of high school. So if he's back to 100% health, there's definitely some talent to work with there. So it seems like they're still able to put pretty good incoming classes together, Zach.
Yeah, I think you got, a sophomore. He's going to be a junior, one junior and one, I guess, another junior. I think that's what you need when you lose as much age as we did this season. On the women's side, outgoing transfers, Ula Sharp is heading to Alabama. Track and field, Pete.
Yeah, women's soccer, by the way, that's the transfers so far have gone to Florida and Alabama. I mean, they're not
messing around.
They're not messing. Yeah, for people who didn't play much at SLU to go to SEC teams is something. Anyway, indoor track and field. The Mayo Invitational was this Friday and Saturday at Notre Dame, and 2 school records fell on Friday. The women's distance medley relay team of Sonia Marin, Quincy Hubert, Star Scott, and Emily Morden ran 11:41:07, destroying the previous mark of 11:54:31. The men set a record in the same event with a time of 9:56:02, a time that currently ranks 15th in the country. Lucas Ivanowski, Sam Lamaze, Chase Pitre, Pitre, don't know his name yet. Sorry, Chase, I'll learn it. And George Blanco set the mark. Brock Waugh and Manny Vila posted the 2nd and 5th best marks in program history in the 5,000 meters. And then Erica Broen jumped 1.64 meters to win the high jump event. She's a BYU transfer, and this was her best jump since before her mission. So she is regaining form. And then on Saturday, the men's 4x400 relay of Carson Amstutz, Ethan Bryant, Sam Lamaze, and Chase, whose last name I need to learn, set the school record by over a second with the time of 3:16:37. There were a ton of personal records set over the weekend. Head coach John Bell seemed very pleased with how the group performed overall. As always, we recommend following these events on his Twitter account, JBell30, to see the full list of PRs and other finishes. So just go follow him and you'll always see those track results is the best way to do it, honestly. Next up for the track bills, we've got the Missouri Invitational, February 7th and 8th at Mizzou. So that'll be the next event for the indoor track team, Zach. And how about tennis?
Men's side, 5-2 win over Oral Roberts in Stillwater, Oklahoma on Thursday. Billikens won the doubles point with victories in 1 and 3. They won the 4 singles matches, including Declan Townsend, Andres Castellanos, Luca Leonardo, and Ricky Koshimizu posting victories. 7-0 loss at Oklahoma State on Friday. Next up, they'll head to Eastern Illinois and then play on Saturday the 8th against Omaha at Mac West. On the women's side, 6-1 loss. I can't remember them ever playing there, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
6-1 loss versus Arkansas State on Friday at the St. Clair Tennis Club in O'Fallon. Emerson White got the lone point for the Billikens with the win at number 3 singles. They lost 4 straight at Mizzou Saturday. White won her first set but dropped the second, and her match was halted in the third when the other results came in. Wednesday the 5th, they will head to Eastern Illinois. Pete, that's going to do it.
That is going to do it, Zach, but I do have to issue a correction because I forgot. Only after I said it did I realize I may have been wrong. The pillow fight in women's basketball in the A10 tournament is 6 teams, not 4.
It's so a bigger pillow fight for the women. Are you telling? That is some sexist ass bullshit.
I'm not touching that with I'm not touching that one, Zach. What I'm going to say is it's just going to be harder for Slew.
What is Bernadette McGlade doing? What are we doing?
She was at the GW game. I should have asked her. When she was there, she wasn't too far from me. I should have asked.
I really hope those that stuck around appreciate that little Easter egg there at the end.
There you go. But anyway, yeah, it's 6 teams. So they have to get the 9 seed or better if they're going to avoid that, and that's a tall order. But bottom 4, I think they can avoid, but bottom 6 is going to be tough.
All right, that's going to do it. Pete, as always, whether we beat VCU and lose to Dayton or vice versa, go Bills.
Go Bills.